Greetings, Kindred. This tale may be considered controversial. Words, concepts, in history relating to slavery, racism, and the anti-slavery exclusion laws in U.S. history will be presented in a blunt manner, in order to explore a character's history and backstory. The history of the United States, including modern times, is unfortunately full of topics such as these, and the thicker-than-water troupe is in no way attempting to make light of any such events. We recognize the privileged perspective we benefit from, the lack of lived experience and disconnect from generational trauma that descendants of slaves continue to endure. The intent in telling this story is not to impose further pain or trauma upon any person through the themes or words. With respect and love for those who follow our games, we share our stories. Thank you, and we hope that you can find some enjoyment in the following tale. Early white settlers in the Oregon country often held both anti-slavery and anti-black beliefs, and many came from states such as Missouri, which had some version of exclusion laws. White settlers believed banning slavery would eliminate political controversy, but feared that settlements of freed slaves would compete for power with white people. One early migrant wrote that Oregon's pioneers hated slavery, but a much larger number of them hated free Negroes, worse even than slaves. The Oregon Black Exclusion Laws were attempts to prevent black people from settling within the borders of the settlement and eventual U.S. state of Oregon. The first such law took effect in 1844, when the Provisional Government of Oregon voted to exclude black settlers from Oregon's borders. The law authorized a punishment for any black settler remaining in the territory to be whipped with not less than 20 nor more than 39 stripes for every 6 months they remained. Additional laws aimed at African Americans entering Oregon were ratified in 1849 and 1857. The last of these laws were repealed in 1926. The laws born of anti-slavery and anti-black beliefs were often justified as a reaction to fear of black people instigating Native American uprising. Setting this scene. You are 24.
I am.
The year is 1876. And this is probably the dozenth time that you've escaped
Seems legit.
from McCarthy's plantation. McCarthy is a horrible owner. Not only are you still owned in a time where, and you've heard the news, that slaves have been freed. There's no reason for you to still be captive except for the fact that this man is cruel. He's a monster in so many different ways, and the people that he has watch you all during the day are just as bad as he is, and unreasonably strong. They notice things that you don't understand how. They notice escaping is almost impossible, but you tend to be able to get through it over and over again. You seem to have what your mother has said, a guardian angel watching over you. Something seems to hide you from their vision from time to time, and it allows you to escape. But that last time that you escaped and they marked you as a runaway, that's a death sentence.
Only if you get caught again.
Only if you get caught again. But it's definitely a lot harder this time. But you've heard rumors. You're not really sure who started them, but in the slave court at McCarthy's plantation, there's rumors of a white man, strangely enough, who is very talented in scarring people in ways that change, like cover their features. You can possibly cover that runaway R. You can actually tattoo yourself and cover it. But this person, it's going to be kind of hard to find because you have to get to the actual town.
I have to go into town.
You're going to have to go into town.
With a mark on me.
Which is about 12 miles away.
On foot.
It's just after sundown. And you really needed to get out of there before sundown. You were able to get out of the plantation before because nobody ever sees McCarthy until after the sun goes down. He visits the slave court. People feel sick. People don't work the next day. Sometimes people disappear completely. He's the devil.
They're all the devil.
Yes, they are all the devil, but this one seems to be more active.
This one's just my devil.
There's rumors in the slave court that McCarthy has eaten some of the slave children.
I assume I wouldn't be too shocked to hear something like that, considering his general demeanor.
Considering the fact that you grew up here, you were born in his slave court.
Mm-hmm.
You're 24.
Mm-hmm.
The man doesn't age. You've
Really?
never seen him when the sun's up. He's always at night.
Any of the older folks started any rumors yet?
There's the rumor.
Because there's not much else to do.
There's the rumor of him being a monster. Like a
like
literal
an actual monster.
Not just mean, but legends of where your family came from having beasts that look like men. Creatures that live in trees and jump down on people. Legends of humans that take on animal forms. These are all tribal myths. The stories of Anansi, the trickster god who devours humans. This is a white man. You really don't expect that kind of
White
thing.
devil.
He is quite the white devil. He's very mean. He's very mocking. But he loves to have portraits made up of those that he tortures the most. Your family has become very prominent Catholics. That's McCarthy's demand. He wants you to have some semblance of what true evil is, so he makes you learn religion. And although not official canon for the church, your colony has come to saint members of your family for yourselves.
Okay.
They're typically considered the guardian angels of your family. These are mostly the paintings that you can find in his large, luxurious house that he keeps lining the main hall of all the slaves that he's murdered for defiance. But your family has sainted them because of the defiance. So there's some faces that you've noticed. And your mother has always said that your grandfather has watched out for you specifically. As you're getting through the wilderness in between McCarthy's home and the actual town itself, you've found yourself getting lost because you're not allowed to go to town.
Yeah.
Maybe once or twice before the authorities of Portland made it illegal to be black in Portland. You may have been set, maybe when you were a young teenager, to market, to go buy things for the other slaves. Usually it's cheap horse feed that you buy at Laurel Ranch. but for the most part, you haven't been here in a while. But when you found yourself lost in the woods, there's this comforting whistle that seems to be guiding you in the right direction. Eventually, you actually see the lights of the schoolhouse. It's kind of strange that the school mistress would be up this late, but
Right.
she has lights on. Probably not a good idea to go there. From everything that you've heard, she's been at McCarthy's home.
Oh, yeah, avoiding. Absolutely.
But it is a landmark saying that you're close. The smell of manure and horses is not too far off. And again, Laurel Ranch, which is the place where you've been there, you've picked up horse feed that you've been forced to give to the kitchen staff because they use it to feed the slaves.
And I imagine I might have heard a rumor or two about the way she behaves in town and how unorthodox she is.
Oh, she's insane.
Was she ever
She's
unkind
considered-
to anybody in my family? Or
Not that you've ever heard.
When
Not that you've ever heard. But there have been other runaway slaves that were returned that have said something about her eating her horses raw
I'm
in
not
the
a
fields.
horse, so I'm okay so
Yeah.
far. And she hasn't been crappy at me when I go to pick up orders.
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
No, it was years ago.
Probably gonna want to carefully cut through that property as far as I can to try to sneak, even if I have to go like around
It's
town
actually a
or-
pretty large property, which is
That's what I remember.
all wood fenced off. So it's probably a safe way. If anything, the
Yeah.
smell itself would stop McCarthy's hounds
That's another
from
good
smelling
thought.
you through.
Because I mean, it's night, and if I don't see the guy who covers the scars,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna go knocking door to door, so I'm gonna try to creep through that property
Mm-hmm.
and just sort of, stop not for too long, but stop and watch. Because they're gonna be expecting, anybody watching where I've gone is gonna be expecting me to like haul,
True.
not to go to town.
True.
So I'm gonna kind of just creep a little.
The place that you know that you could find this person. The scary part is, luckily, at this time period, it's so dark. It's so dark.
And so am I. I'm not sure that really helps you blend in. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of can, because you can blend in with the shadows a little better, but there are some places that you still see lights on. There seems to be some rowdy activity happening at the Excalibur Saloon.
Oh yeah, no saloons for me. Just
That's where the difficulty comes in. Because the place that you're going to find this mystery tattoo artist is at the Ecstasy Saloon.
I imagine they're gonna make him go home at some point.
Possibly, if he doesn't live there. It is the most prominent inn in the entire town. You've heard that he has strong connections with money, and this man, who's not really sure what his name is, has been rumored to not only cover runaway marks, cover lashing scars. Some people even say completely get rid of lashing scars somehow. Perhaps he's some kind of doctor who knows some strange techniques. He also gives exorbitant amounts of money to slaves and helps them get to Boston on steamship.
This sounds like some kind of fantasy.
Oh, it's a
fairy
fairy tale, but what else
nonsense.
choice do you
Yeah,
have?
like how far am I really gonna get? Okay, so real quick, let me just backtrack a little bit
Sure.
and see if in the barns or laying just about anywhere on a line, because I know Laurel wears pants.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna need to try to hunt down, even if they're coveralls, some kind of pair of pants.
Okay. You want to steal some clothes from...
Yeah, something
Alright.
that's gonna cover as much skin as possible. If I can even find, something I can just wrap a bandana, something I can put over my face. Like, I need to apparently be able to at least look in the windows and identify somebody, if not go inside the saloon. So,
Okay. And That's frightening.
Yeah.
That is frightening.
Gloves would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. You're trying to cover yourself up as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's not hard to locate some riding clothes. They're men's clothes.
Even better.
Most definitely. You can find a bit of rope that acts like a belt, because you're not going to find a belt. That's an expensive piece of leather.
Didn't figure I'd find a hat or.
You're not going to find a hat. Hats are way too important. Can't find an old horse blanket that doesn't seem to be used, which is, when opened up, good cloak length. Like, you could possibly wrap yourself in that if need be. If you need to sleep outside, it's probably a good idea to steal it.
I'll probably roll it up and take it, as opposed to trying to wear it in a saloon and look like I'm some kind of crazy railroad worker that they're going to attack anyway. Like, is nondescript.
Now that it's actively illegal to be colored in Portland, because that's their way of handling slavery.
Yeah, it's just everybody has to go.
Exactly, which is why you are typically kept within the actual slave quarters, which are outside of town. The local sheriff, Victor Loretta, has shown up quite a few times to speak to McCarthy, where he's talked to several of McCarthy's workers, but he's never actually talked to McCarthy himself, because McCarthy is always out during the day, never within view. Loretta's never treated you with disrespect.
Okay.
He doesn't seem to care, and he doesn't seem to care about color, and he tries to keep. He's fighting his damnedest to politically have the city outstretched to encompass McCarthy's property, so that he is not physically allowed to keep you, not legally allowed to keep you, because you'd be within the city limits. Right. He has snuck food in from time to time.
Personally?
Typically when he goes in to yell at who's ever working, he's arrested several of the slavers for cruelty while he's been there. He'll accidentally leave a bag, which tends to be filled with food, fresh water.
Okay. Does he happen to be out patrolling if I sit long enough and look about?
No one really patrols.
I mean, when there's a saloon active, I was just thinking there might be somebody. Does he normally... Well, I guess I wouldn't really know where a sheriff's department or anything like that would be.
Yeah.
It's really just going to take me a few minutes to build up the cojones.
Oh yeah, no, you gotta build your bearings on that.
Yeah, and make sure I know who's left and who's right on the street. And
at one point, you actually have a hell of a scare, where from around a corner, a couple of white men come around and walk right past you, but don't even seem to see you, like, at all. And it's not even you're beneath their notice or anything. They literally do not see you.
Well, I mean, that's white guys. That's gonna be her mindset. Is they're just in their own little world. Don't think of nobody else.
It does make sense. That does make a lot of sense. But it also does. Again, you just got that guardian angel feeling, like something's cloaking you.
Yeah, their stupidity.
The shadows themselves seem to darken when you're around, just to make sure that you're okay. And you might even have a second to stop and thank your grandfather for having your back.
And then I'll remind myself of my overactive imagination and go back to focusing on not being seen.
Most of the city, if it can be called that, most of the town is empty. There's a couple drunks that have decided that here's a good place to sleep, and they're just there. There's the biggest ruckus is coming from the Ecstasy Saloon.
Of course.
There's a white woman who you've seen a couple of times within the last 20 minutes if you're just sitting outside.
Yeah, I'm really just trying to feel a flow and pick my moment.
Yeah.
Trying to pick my moment.
She seems to usher out people from time to time. She seems in charge of this area. This is her building.
Huh.
She very long red hair. You've never seen clothes like that. She looks like some kind of, I mean, well, I actually could say you probably have seen clothes like that in paintings in the house. But she looks like some kind of fancy princess or something with the way that she's dressed. But she's all authority. But she's seductive authority. It's a very interesting thing where she can be outright rude and forceful with these men who she's telling to leave, and they'll do whatever the hell she says and seem happy to do it.
Well, that seems universal amongst the colors, doesn't it?
There's classic saloon style doors on the front.
Okay.
There's a very large window off to the side, off to the right side of the door, where you can see everything that's going on. And there are women doing all types of acts that you would not expect in public. Right there, in front of everybody. Dancing, showing skin they shouldn't be showing, bartending. It's like the whole place is run by women.
Is that allowed? No. Huh.
Not to your knowledge.
Interesting. Okay.
But in that window, you also see someone sitting at the bar, small framed, glasses, hairbrush. It looks completely out of his element.
Like a pharmacist or something?
He's dressed like a pharmacist. He's got that high collar on. He's got the tie that's holding it together. He's got a vest, no jacket. You don't see a hat on him or near him.
I don't think you're allowed to wear hats inside.
No, but they should have one near him.
Yeah, true.
You don't let a hat out of your sight. Not here. And then right next to him, you see something just out of the corner of your eye, and I need you to throw an awareness check.
Okay. Just straight awareness is what we're throwing?
That is going to be your wits, which is 2, and your awareness, which is 2.
Okay.
So 4. And we'll go ahead and shake down the dice down to one corner and just throw into the other. 2 successes. Okay?
Yeah.
So you get 2 successes. Doctor. You swear by everything that you know as true. You swear that you just saw a black man in there.
Sitting next to the little pharmacist
Standing
guy?
next to him.
Standing next to him.
Like behind him. You swear you saw him. You could swear he looked very familiar too. But you swear you saw a black man. In that saloon. In a town where it's illegal to be black. He was dressed interesting.
Define interesting.
Long, black, Undertaker's coat. Tall, stovetop hat.
He has a hat.
Oh yeah, he's wearing a hat inside. Not
just
supposed to wear
having a hat, period.
He's wearing white but worn gloves. Swear the man had a monocle.
No.
And he's smoking a cigar. He's there, and then he's not. But he was standing right behind that man.
That would be the person I would want to go to if I can locate that person again.
True.
And I'll frantically start zipping my eyes through, not close to the window, keeping a good distance just in case anybody happens to look up. But I really want to try to get as much of a where the heck did he go as possible.
Yeah. You don't see him again. It was like a split second, gone, blink, he's gone.
Did the pharmacist seem to notice? Did anybody seem to
No one looked up.
interact with him? Or
No one looked up. He was either only for your eyes or just accepted.
Either is peculiar.
Either is massively peculiar.
Okay. Just real quick, in the alley, or if the buildings are separated anyway, are there any other windows or vantage points where maybe I could get up somewhere and look down? I mean, because really walking up to the big window or through the doors.
Most of the buildings on this side of town are separated.
Okay.
By quite a bit.
Okay.
The building gives off this feeling of uncomfort itself.
I think everything's gonna be uncomfortable.
Oh yeah,
right
no. That's completely
I should not be here
understandable.
today.
True.
Okay. Is his back to me? Or would it be reasonable to try to...
He's sitting at the corner of the bar, so you've kind of got a profile shot of what he looks like.
Well, if I start waving or doing anything crazy, then, everyone's going to notice me.
Oh, well,
but
you're standing outside in the dark, the lights are on inside. Probably not going to notice you with everything that's going on in there. He seems to be actively avoiding all of the activity in this place. At one point in time, a fairly pretty woman walks up to him and starts talking to him, and he just uncomfortably nods at what she says, and then she seems to ask him a question, and he just taps on his glass. She looks put out, reaches behind the bar, rolls her eyes, refills his drink, and then just walks away like she's wasted her time.
Is he reading? Is he Googling? Like, is he just sitting there staring at the bar?
He's got a ledger in front of him.
Okay, so he's doing something.
He's got some kind of leather-bound book in front of him. It's kind of thin but big. Okay. After a little while, that woman, that redhead, who has been ushering people out little by little, walks up to him after he seems to have insulted the woman that he was just talking to. Talks to him. They seem to have some heated words. And she gives that flip of her hand, do whatever you want gesture. And he gets up, he closes his book, finishes his drink, and beelines it to the door. And he starts walking out.
Before he gets to the door. Because I'm going to watch him come.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to make sure that my elbow is up against the one side of the saloon door.
Okay.
Just so he has to kind of bang into me.
Okay. He does so. And looks at you.
Very over dramatically. As soon as that door hits her, we'll just sort of very dramatically. Like it shouldn't have necessarily knocked her all the way down, but it's a...
Without even considering the fact that he might have hurt you. Might look like a level of rudeness if you weren't who you were in a city like this. But he crouches down without asking you, scoops his arm under yours, lifts you with surprising strength for how tiny this guy is. And you just hear him very nervously, no, and forces you around to the dark side of the saloon before he can get out. What are you doing here? What are you doing here?
Do you know who I am?
I know you're a colored girl in a city. No one's going to hear us out here. They're playing the piano in there. What are you doing?
There's a fellow that does stuff to people's skin. With scars and things.
Okay.
Trying to find him.
You trying to get out?
I'm already out.
No, you're not.
I'm as out as, you are right now.
No, you're out of a pot and you're into a frying pan.
I'll be the judge of that.
You from McCarthy?
Isn't everybody?
Jesus.
Everybody that runs, anyway. I need help with this.
God, fucking Kane's name. Alright, he, follow me. And he takes you behind the saloon in between several buildings, past one building that has bars on the windows, and then towards a modest sized, what looks like a shop. I don't think your character could probably read right now.
No. I highly doubt McCarthy would have taught anybody there to read.
Mm-hmm. He walks up and there's a lantern built into the wall.
Neat.
And it's an old miner's lantern that he's just nailed up there, and it's lit. And he just walks up, and he blows out the fire. He pulls out some keys, opens it, get inside. Unless you want to do this outside, and people are going to hear you.
I'm not really accustomed to going into places where people have keys and can lock me up and just yell.
Oh, Jesus.
What?
Okay, fine. He steps forward. He extends his hand, which, in greeting, Kenneth Obertus.
It doesn't really mean much.
No, it doesn't, but it's a name, and I'm not really a stranger at that point. You are?
I'm not stupid enough to think that's an actual reason to trust you, but
it's not a reason to trust me, but I didn't yell nigger at the top of my lungs and have some people come out with the ropes and to hang you or anything. I want to get you out of here. We're going to get you fixed up the way that you need to be. We're going to get you on the Proud Mary, and we're going to get you out of here. I am the guy.
You're the guy?
Yeah.
You're like a pharmacist or something.
He rolls up his sleeve on his left arm and takes out his cufflink, rolls it up, and he has a very detailed, tribal nowadays, you could say, tattoo of a dragon swallowing its tail.
What kind of devil mark is that?
Not a devil mark.
Doesn't look like a Jesus mark.
Well, I don't really need a Jesus mark. He's never really helped me with anything. I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in if he did. Now, do you want to get out of here?
Did you just call me a situation?
No. Believe it or not, although you might be the highlight of my night, you are not the highlight of my life. So let's get you in there so we can get you out of there.
Give me the keys.
Okay. They're just so I can open my door.
And they're also so you can't lock them.
He hands you the...
Step. You sure it's okay? Like your wife's not going to come out and start stabbing me or anything?
Do not have a wife, actually.
Dogs?
I do not like dogs. They're loud.
They bite too.
They pee on things.
So do most white guys.
Agreed. I don't like them either. Get inside.
Walk inside. Start looking around.
You
Make sure he doesn't have cuffs or ropes or something crazy.
You walk into... I know your character would be able to identify this, but you walk into effectively an accountant's office.
Okay.
There's a desk. There's a few chairs. There's a fireplace that's not lit. Over in the corner, there's an armchair, and sitting in that armchair is that man you saw. Obertus walks in and does not seem to notice him at all. And he just looks at you and goes, puts his finger to his lips. And you could swear to God that is the spitting image of the painting of your grandfather that's in McCarthy's house. Not dressed like that. He's in rags in that painting. He's in a horrible position in that painting. But there he is, dressed like a king, swirling a fancy wide-rimmed glass that has some kind of dark liquid in it. No cigar this time. But he's just sitting there, cane, nice walking stick across his lap, legs crossed, grin on his face. Obertus doesn't even notice him. At least he doesn't say hi, doesn't look at him, doesn't do anything. And he walks over to a safe, and he starts fiddling with the dial.
What are you doing?
You want to cover up your stuff?
You keep your magic in a safe?
It's not magic.
It's not magic what you do, but you call it what you want.
Alright, well, we need to talk about how much you want to do this. Like, how much you want.
I don't have any money.
I'm not charging you any money. If anything, give you some cash and get you the hell out of here. Just because I'm a slave doesn't mean you have to be.
Just because you're a slave.
Gets the door open, pulls out this box, opens it up, and it has this what looks like a gun, but it's got these weird hoses attached to it, and this little tiny push pump. Kind of looks like a miniature thing on a sewing machine.
Are you mulatto?
No.
No, you're real light. Why are you a slave? What does that even mean?
All right, look, you obviously have some trust issues, which I understand because I can tell by the scars. They want me for breeding.
Who wants you for breeding?
He gestures out. You can pretty much get the fact that he's talking about at the saloon. They just want me for
The
breeding.
girls over there?
Yeah. They just want me for breeding.
That's kind of what they do over there, yeah. Drinking and breeding.
Well, no. Fornicating, yeah. But they want me to just pump out more and more children they can put into slavery. I'm going to get you out of this because no one deserves to be treated like that.
So confused by everything that's coming out of your mouth, but you're not as crazy as you sound. I mean, your eyes aren't. Never mind.
All right, who sent you?
There's just rumors. Nobody sent me.
Great.
What? It's better if somebody sends me?
No. Rumors are ways to get caught.
Well, there's lots of rumors. Not just about you, and definitely not by name or description.
Yeah, but what I do isn't really something that people do very often.
Well, who the hell do you think my family's gonna tell?
All right. Are you just looking to cover up what you need covered up, or are you looking to get rid of what you need covered up?
What's better for the long haul?
I mean, I can work some type of portrait over your scars, and they won't be noticed, but in close inspection,
Gonna look like a pirate.
yeah, you will.
Well, that's no better, is it?
I mean, some people like it; it's artistic. Or I can completely smooth it out and get rid of it completely, and then you won't have to worry about being noticed and get rid of that runaway mark.
What kind of pictures?
What do you want?
I have no idea. What kind of pictures can you do?
I can do whatever you want.
I asked my nephew if they could draw pictures, and no, they can't. So, can you draw pictures?
He walks over a bookshelf and he pulls out several books. They're science books, but mostly what you're going to be looking at is illustrations that he opens up. And he shows you just like the most brilliant colors of butterflies and birds and just pretty much anything I can do. I can change the colors, I can move things around if you just give me an idea of what you want.
Anything in this book.
Anything. It
Should
doesn't
flip through.
it's not pleasant to get them. It hurts. But no more than anything that you've already gone through.
You're not a good salesman. I just figured you ought to know.
I'm not trying to sell you shit.
I just figured you ought to know.
Mm.
What about that?
What are you pointing at?
Some kind of nocturnal, mothy.
Sure. He actually spouts off not just the common name, but the Latin name of it. I think that's a good choice.
That's that little thing's name?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Well.
It's only this big.
Yeah, it's got a name that's bigger than it. Yeah.
Who taught you how to read?
It's one of the things my whole family does.
Or you're just born knowing how to read?
Not born, but we
I
have
was
like
kidding.
teachers and stuff.
Yes. Who taught you? Just making polite conversation.
Okay. Well,
Normally, white guys like to talk about how smart they are. Figured I'd ask about reading.
smart doesn't matter. But he eventually just
Yes.
says, Miss Santosa, she taught me how to read.
The redhead in there throwing everybody out?
Yeah, Elena.
I was gonna ask her. but
She just fucking feeds you the atrium.
I don't know who or what an atrium is, but that feeding part doesn't sound pleasant.
No, not at all. All right. He will start working on you, and he has a foot pump that makes the needles go in and out. It's basically a pretty interesting steampunk version of a
Sewing machine.
Oh yeah, pretty much. And you do find that the colors feel like a burning, but the outlines feel like stabbing.
She'll honestly probably just want the standard black ink
Mm-hmm.
because too much flash. Like if you move and somebody goes, "Ooh, blue, red," like
True. It's not really going to pop up on your skin that very well.
true.
So he will talk to you, and he's like, if there is anything you just need me to remove, you let me know.
No, she'll just show him whatever marks she's accumulated over the last
Okay.
24 years of having a mouth.
Okay. The biggest one he's going to be worried about is, do you want to keep that, the R? Some people do. It's a sign of honor that you've gotten away.
I feel weird about getting rid of it, but I obviously
Okay.
can't just run through town like that.
True.
Well,
If I get rid of it, it's gone. For good.
I
You don't
want
get
you
it
to
back.
Rid of it.
Okay. You want me to move it?
Move it.
Yeah.
Move it.
If I can take it off, I can put it somewhere else. He looks at you and he is the most serious.
She will look back over to the chair.
Just kind of shrugs as he's watching all this happen.
Okay then. Can you do it under the hairline?
Yeah, can do that.
Will it grow back?
Your hair?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I wasn't going to take the hair off.
I don't even want to pretend to understand the process of what's happening right now, and I think I might have fallen into a mushroom patch or fallen asleep because it's just been a whole weird experience.
Don't worry, you're not going to rip Van Winkle yourself.
I brought you a rug.
A rug?
Mm-hmm.
With that horse blanket?
Yeah. I figured you wouldn't mind
Is
giving
that
it
Laura
back
Murphy's?
to her. Yeah, so are the pants.
You need some clothes too, then I take it.
Well, I've got some clothes, but I figure I'd return them.
Okay, you need some clothes that you can keep then. I take it.
I don't want to dress like you, though.
I was going to actually say some ladies' clothes, actually. I have access to these things.
I wasn't going to ask you where you got your ladies' clothes. Why do you think I was going to ask that? Never crossed my mind why you'd have a whole bunch of ladies' clothes in here.
He is laughing freely with you.
They all want you to breed. That's okay.
Yeah, well, I don't plan on doing this for long. As soon as I get good enough at what I do, I'm out of here myself.
What is it you do?
Well,
besides this, which probably isn't all that lucrative.
he moves over to the R, your runaway mark.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a sharp pain, really sharp pain. And when you look down, there's a rough, raw patch on your arm where it was. And he'll look at you and go, I'm really sorry that hurts.
That's fine.
And there's going to be a little bit more pain as he rubs his hand over where it was, but it's smoothed out. And there's not even a mark. Behind your ear?
Where it can't be seen, really.
Mm-hmm. Again, it hurts a lot because you could swear he's starting to scalp you.
Probably not, again, the worst thing she's been through.
No, pain is pain, though.
Glance over again to the fellow that is and is not sitting in the chair.
He is watching in fascination. Like, this looks new to him. And you feel him move his fingers under your skin. And then you feel him flattening things out. And it is immensely painful for you. But when you put your hand back and touch where you told him to put it, you feel that R under your hair. You don't feel a cut. You don't feel stitches as if he had time to do that. You don't feel anything. You just feel yourself. And then suddenly your scar is moved. He looks exhausted from doing, like, just suddenly just out of breath.
You're not gonna faint,
No,
are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. It's just that part takes a lot out of me.
Do you want an orange from the kitchen or something?
If we can get oranges in town, that'd be amazing.
We have oranges.
Well, I'm sure you do. McCarthy's a fucking...
Well, I'm not saying I get them.
McCarthy's a dandy.
I don't get 3 lashes where I come from, friends.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you right now that the way that McCarthy got his status is a nice shovel to the back of the head and digging himself up out of the ground.
You said dandy. You didn't say zombie. Those are 2 different things.
He's not
usually.
a zombie.
What you described.
He's not a zombie. He's a lot worse.
Shovel to the back of the head and
He's a
dug
lot worse than a
himself out of the
zombie because he
ground.
can think.
They say he's a monster.
Oh, he's a
You know
monster.
that. Like, they mean it, though.
Oh, he's massively a monster. The only reason he keeps y'all is for food.
Well, here I reckon he kept me because he couldn't cut down his own shit.
He kept you.
Or make his own damn tea.
Oh, he can make anybody do work for him. He just enjoys torturing you all.
Noticed. We all noticed.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Sometimes I kind of hope that Loretta just gets his way and they actually expand everything that they're trying to do here. But I really don't want this city getting as big as he has plans on it.
I was thinking about going to Loretta, too. I don't think he'd drag me back. He may not help me, but I don't think he would drag me back.
No, I don't think he'd drag you back, but I do think that regardless of how kind he might be to you and your people, he is also a lawman and he's going to follow that law.
Well, the law is I'm not property.
And the law is you're not legally allowed to be in this city.
There's that, too. He could always dump me off on the other side.
The short drop and a sudden stop, and that's how he'll fix that. Because he's going to follow the law. Because he'd rather kill you than return you back to where you're going to get tortured.
That's fair. He'd have a hell of a time trying, though.
True.
I'm not sure that man could shoot a woman in the back.
I don't think you'd have to shoot a woman in the back.
I think I'd make him.
But also, there's other things in the city you really don't want to mess with. Like more of McCarthy's type.
I was just thinking how weird all of y'all are.
Oh yeah, no, we're really
all
messed
of you.
up.
There's a woman that owns the bar. There's a guy that changes
I mean that
everything,
happens.
I don't know how to tell you this
Women
from
build the West out
pretty
there.
sure your place is haunted.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Most people don't laugh when you say something like that.
I've seen a few.
Yeah, I see a few.
He walks over to the table and picks up that red ledger that he was working on. Where are you going?
I haven't really thought that far. As far as I can.
As far as you can?
I usually get a good 40 miles.
Well, New York's safe for the most part.
That's more than 40 miles.
That is more than 40 miles.
Yeah.
Talking about putting you on a boat, sending you up to Williamette.
I could just hop on the Gazette right now. Well, I mean, maybe not hop on.
If we give you enough money to pay the Mary, get on that boat, take you in, you just mind your own when you get on there. Don't talk about the men who are there who don't want to be there. Don't talk to anybody aside from possibly the captain or the first mate.
Don't talk to anybody except the captain?
Yes. You're going to legally be on that boat. You're going to pay your way. He's like messing around with the numbers in the ledger. He seems to be doing like math in his head while he's talking to you. And he goes back over to that safe that's still open. He pulls out another box. He flips it open, and it's just ridiculous amounts of paper money.
Who did you kill?
I don't. I hold the money to pretty much everybody in town.
You're the banker.
It's called an accountant.
I thought you were a pharmacist. It's
No.
the tie.
I can see that. I can see that. No. Miss Santosa has me working for pretty much everybody, keeping the numbers.
So she employs you.
She owns me.
You keep saying that, and I can't quite fathom what you're on about.
You're owned.
I'm not a white man.
It's not just a white affliction.
White
It's not just a black affliction.
Man. You are a man, aren't you?
I don't know.
Okay, this is getting a little weird for me, too. You're about to give me some money and send me on my way. And I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but I'm pretty sure that the dogs have already made it here twice.
I don't think dogs are going to come anywhere near me.
That's why I smell like a horse.
The man in the chair speaks up at this point, scares the hell out of Obertus, nearly falls down. He's a little coward. He goes, very odd accent. You're telling her too much. She's not ready for this. And like I say, he pretty much falls down.
You heard the ghost.
He laughs.
Okay, not a ghost. But you couldn't see him, so I figured he was a ghost.
Completely ignoring you at this point. Obertus looks over to him, goes, "You're that Whistler fella." And he just kind of like whistles in affirmative. Just like a sharp. Alright, so you're the guardian angel of the McCarthy slaves, right? So what fuck. He walks over to a cabinet, pulls out a decanter, pours himself a really tall glass, drinks it, pours it again, and sips the next one. Why are you bringing him to me? Whistler stands up, walks over, and he's got this tall, authoritative bearing to him, and goes right up to Obertus and says, "Because you're the only fiend that can get them out of here. You're the only fiend that will get them out of here." He's like, "I'll help you when your time comes. But first, we get them out." How can I trust that you're not going to tell anybody else? If I tell anybody else, and he gestures towards you, my children won't survive.
You're a paranoid little thing.
Whistler looks at you and goes, "He has reason to be."
I think it's because he's drinking too much.
I don't think he drinks enough.
What? That's always the man's answer. I don't think he drinks enough. You're already helping all of us anyway.
He looks at Whistler and says, "How much?" And Whistler reaches into the box and takes all of the money and shoves it in his pocket. That should cover it.
I did bring you a blanket.
Whistler then says, "You look weak. You've expended a lot." And he takes, right out of his hand, right out of Obertus's hand, he takes that glass. And he just dumps the content on the floor. Pulls out a small knife, cuts himself open at the wrist, and fills the glass. And as he's doing it, his concentration wavers, and he loses the visage that he's giving you. And it's a rotted, desecrated corpse.
You are a ghost, kinda.
The blood looks like it's forced out. Like he doesn't bleed naturally, he has to think about it. You watch the slit in his wrist heal over by itself, and as it heals, he returns back to being the young, handsome, tall nobleman that led you here. He just looks at the squirrely little coward that's sitting next to you, and he says, "Drink."
Ew! You want him to... You know what?
Without even a thought,
strangest thing.
he grabs it, he drinks it, and he looks like it's the most delicious thing he's ever had. And you didn't really notice, because of the light, because of the work, because of the pain that you were going through, how pale he had become while working on you. But the color returns to him. He seems a lot healthier. He seems to be standing up straight a little better. He seems to be doing a lot better.
Snatch the cup away.
There's a red film. A little
Did
dark.
you seriously just drink his blood?
I needed it. He was weak.
Is everybody in this town a monster?
Not everybody, but a good number.
Because I could tell you a story or two about a few things I've seen.
And it probably wouldn't be the strangest thing he's seen.
This is the strangest thing I've seen in the last 3 days.
He takes, Whistler takes the glass from you. He puts it down thoughtfully, choosing every action, choosing every word. He puts his hand on Obertus's shoulder. Says, "This is the guardian angel of your people. He's the one who's got the majority of us out of where you've been. He's a revenant. He's not human."
I don't know what that means.
He gives...
I know what a werewolf is.
He gives an old word. He gives a really old word that you may have heard your mom say. That you may have heard somebody telling ghost stories around a fire say. It's going to be your family's word for vampire. He's one of their slaves.
That's what you mean by being owned?
They want to breed me to make more.
Oh, I didn't know it worked that way. I mean, I guess I don't really think about that a whole lot when I'm
To make slaves like
living
him,
my life, but
to make slaves like him, it works that way.
weird. That way that girl in there is trying to get you, you know.
They're all revenants.
Is this whole town monsters? I think we kind of glossed over that question just a
There's
little
a
bit.
good amount.
Seems that way.
There's a monster that lives... There's the monster that lives where you came from, McCarthy. Obertus jumps in. There's a monster that lives inside the walls of the ecstasy.
Really?
He lives in soil.
In the walls?
He lives in soil that's packed inside the walls. And he feeds on anyone who rents rooms from out of town that can disappear without notice. That is why I was saying...
No, it was a spider. We're fine. Y'all need to just know more. We're done. We're done. There's a bunch of monsters, and it's the middle of the night, and you're drinking his blood, and I really don't need to know anything else about either one of you. It's all just personal. I get it. Everybody's a monster.
Obertus looks over to Whistler. You two should probably go then.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be packing up his stuff and putting it back in the safe. And as you guys are walking out, he looks like he's stressing out and pulling at his hair as he's trying to rework the numbers of all the money that's just gone missing from the books. But as Whistler walks you out and back into the dark, he tells you, you can speak freely now. No one will notice you.
Really?
I can keep you undercover.
Why couldn't we have just done that before?
It can be tiring for long distances.
That was like 12 miles.
It was 12 miles. That was a long distance.
I know. I walked it without anybody covering me. It was very long.
I watched you. If anybody had come by, I would have made sure they would not have seen you.
I had a couple people pass me. I figured they were just...
Drunk?
Or thinking about something.
No.
People tend to not really pay attention.
I had you cloaked in shadows.
Oh. Okay. Cool. Good. Good. Did he really just drink your blood?
He did.
He's a vampire?
He's a revenant.
Which is like a vampire?
There are 3 creatures that drink blood.
Besides skeeters.
There are, besides mosquitoes. There are the vampires. There are certain families that are enslaved by vampires, called revenants. They are born with vampire blood within their veins. They age slow. They're strong. They have special gifts, such as the strange protean gifts that one has that he used to move your flesh around.
So he has these abilities because he's not a human being.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then there are ghouls, which are regular humans that drink vampire blood. And they're also given gifts, but they need upkeep. They need to be fed often.
Well, he needs to be fed.
He was exhausted.
Oh.
I was giving him back a little bit of vitality so that he did not gain suspicion for helping you. He was willing to give himself the chance of being caught to give you a chance to get away.
I'm not going to feel guilty about wanting to get away.
You don't need to feel guilty.
So.
He has made this choice. He is making
That's right.
amends with things he's done in the past.
All right, then.
You need to choose where you're going now.
I hadn't really thought that far ahead. We covered this earlier when you were sitting in the chair, and
You have...
I don't really know. He said a boat.
You have a 400-year-old secret resting on your shoulders now. Humans are not meant to know that we exist.
Well, plenty of humans know that vampires are real. It's not an everyday conversation. Sometimes when we're out working, we get to chatting about McCarthy, but...
I'll kill him.
You could have done that earlier, too.
He's powerful. And he's not alone.
I am happy to help you. I think everybody there is happy to help you. Do you know that he eats babies?
He uses them.
Still not a gold star for him.
McCarthy belongs to several organizations of vampires.
Well, maybe that's not... They could know.
Vampires are separated into family lines. He's the leader of the family here. Him, that school mistress, several of them.
Her lights were on when I went by earlier.
She's kind, unlike him.
But she's a vampire.
Oh, yes.
Huh. What about Laurel Murphy?
Also, she belongs to the family gangrel.
I've seen her do some weird stuff.
She's damaged. She doesn't know how to keep things calm.
That's because she's drunk a whole bunch. A whole bunch. All the time.
I've looked into her future, and I know how she dies, and it's not pretty.
I don't really need to know her future. I was just wondering if she was... Is there anybody in town that isn't a vampire?
There are more humans than vampires here.
Whatever happened to that drunk guy that used to wander around the streets all the time? Did somebody eat that guy? Doesn't matter, just one of the locals. I was in town a few times, he was sleeping. In the middle of the road.
I think you're talking about Merrick.
Black hair, pretty blue eyes, tall.
He's
drunk.
in mourning.
Somebody died?
His wife and his child.
I didn't know he's married.
Was.
He's drunk a lot for a married guy.
He wasn't. He
That
started
why he's
drinking.
Drunk all the time?
He started drinking when she died in childbirth.
That's kind of sad.
The
so
local,
he's not a vampire.
No, but the local prince does have eyes on him.
Prince?
Leader of one of the vampire
Like
organizations.
Queen of England kind of thing?
Smaller.
Because Prince.
Prince.
Right.
McCarthy also belongs to a group called, what do they call themselves? Cain's Choir.
Well, the banker said, in the name of Cain. I remember that. It's from the Bible. I've heard it 100 times.
There's a vampire legend that says that Cain is the first of us.
Came from the Bible.
Cain, from the Bible, the first murderer, was cursed with being what we call kindred.
Vampires.
Yes.
I wouldn't know. I haven't read it. Nobody got to that part.
You should learn to read.
Spoiler, everybody dies in the end.
Really depends on how.
It was supposed to make you laugh.
Death is a very important business to me.
I thought we were talking about the Bible. Okay, got it. We don't joke about death. You kind of have to joke about death when you're living at McCarthy's place. I mean, it is, in fact, everywhere. All the time. Especially after the sun goes down. Because he's a freaking vampire.
He is. Of the Toreador clan.
What does that mean?
Of the different
Families.
There's 13 main families. Not all of them are here.
That's a lot of vampires, though.
Not all of them are
13
here.
families. Okay.
McCarthy belongs to the ones who tend to relish in opulence.
That he does.
But he's working with one organization, claiming leadership of one of the families, while he's spying on them from another.
No, it's perfect. Do you have proof?
I can't reveal myself to them.
Do you have proof you could give someone else? Or hang in the middle of the town hall?
Not yet.
Well, no pressure, but people are getting whipped and dying every day.
I want to get them all out.
While I'm in town?
I'm planning on an uprising.
That sounds bloody.
It can be.
What else you got? Besides uprising? Because you know none of us have any kind of guns or nothing.
I plan on gifting the way I gifted the Obertus boy.
You're going to have people drink your blood.
If they will.
What's that going to do for them?
It will ghoul them temporarily.
Which makes him strong like he's strong.
Strong, resilient.
He picked me up like I was a bug.
Yes. Which is why...
Because he's not a human.
Which is why I plan on doing this right before the sun rises.
Everybody that works at McCarthy's place, they all have that too, that goal.
How many are there, though? 10? How many slaves are there? 50?
Gotta figure only about half of them are gonna move.
If before dawn I can get them to drink of my blood, at least a few of them, I can give them some of my powers. And then they would have the ability to uprise against the slave masters. Possibly set fire to McCarthy's home.
I could smuggle it in. They probably don't even know I'm gone yet.
True. But I don't want to send you back.
Are you gonna come back?
I never leave.
So I'm not really alone then.
Are you sure you want to help me with this?
You just told me you're gonna kill McCarthy. And you need our help. I'm on board with that. If you're really gonna do it, you have to get your blood or whatever to everybody back home, right?
Yes.
Do you have a better plan?
No.
Well, it's not like he's gonna come out and look at my arms when I go to work at 4:30 in the morning, so... And I'm pretty sure that he's actually gonna drop over dead of a heart attack if you don't put that money back. It's not a bad option.
Would you drink it?
It's supposed to help, right?
Yes.
Makes me strong like they're strong?
Yes.
For how long? Do we have just a couple of hours, or is this like a go kind of thing?
You should be fine and last for the day. With the amount that I give you.
Okay. Then yeah. There's gonna be a couple that say it's devil magic. There's gonna be a couple that are too scared, but I'm pretty sure I can get a handful of people. 15, 20. They have to wanna kill us more than we wanna live. It'll be enough. And I happen to know where all the farming tools are, so...
He will reach into his pocket, pull out that knife, cut his wrist open again, and offer it to you.
Does it feel like anything?
Does it feel like anything?
Yeah,
You'll feel invigorated.
I'm kind of always invigorated.
He offers you his wrist. It's not bleeding. The blood just sits there.
You just lick it off.
You'll need to drink some. A fair amount.
Say when?
A mouthful.
Hold her nose. Bend down.
It doesn't taste bad. At first, it's a, oh my god, what am I doing feeling.
Yeah.
Then there's the coppery flavor, but then there's this can't identify it, but I want more. To the point where he has to remove his wrist. I'm not trying to slave you. I'm trying to set you free. And this can, out of control, become a slaving tool.
He seemed a little slavey.
He was born that way.
Does this last for a whole day?
Don't call upon its abilities unless you need it.
I figured we were gonna need it. Right?
Right. But
Okay.
don't until you need it.
Don't draw attention.
Yes.
Yeah, I got that. I'm not gonna burst in a fire or anything, right?
No.
Okay.
He uses what's called draught of endurance on you. This discipline that he's activated in you gives you half of all of the fortitude he has.
Ooh, that's useful.
Yes.
I hope. Presuming he has more than one fortitude.
Yeah.
That would not be as useful.
He's been around for quite some time, and fortitude is one of those things that he finds
Useful.
necessary.
Yes, I agree.
But he you get a good amount of fortitude. Um, he will walk you back the 12 miles, and you walk along the road. You don't fear being caught by anything. Now that you've tasted his blood, you can actually see the shadows are clinging to you like a cloak.
Oh,
That
cool.
they belong to you. That they are doing what he says.
So I can kind of sense and tell that we're not seeable-ish.
Yes.
Okay,
You are
that's cool.
You are obfuscated. He's used Cloak the Gathering on yourself, on you and him, and he will take you there, and he will tell you that as long as you are careful and don't call upon the powers of the blood that he's gifted you, this could very well last an entire month. But if you rush it, your power will be drained. It tells you that containers, jars, whatever you can get a hold of, so that he can make more.
I can get empty eggshells, shoes. I can't take anything out of that house. They are looking for a reason.
Yes.
Hence the running. I think probably every specific house has a cup or two. I can start gathering them.
Those
Tell them
would
I'm
be
up
good.
to something.
Those would be good. You can tell them that we plan on freeing everyone.
Where do you want me to take the cups?
Someplace where they can't find it. Perhaps buried under the foundation of one of the homes. Under the floorboards.
All right.
I will fill them up as I can. And I will not be able to give them the same gifts that I've given you, but I can make them stronger.
I just want to make sure they don't get found.
I have an idea. Trust me.
I'm trying.
He's going to lead you to the slave house farthest to the back. This is typically where you keep the sick. Here. Put it here. Don't worry about floorboards. Don't worry about anything. Put it in
Yeah,
here.
he's not going to come in here.
And he's going to set you back to do as you're going to do.
Okay.
Over a month's time is going to go by as you collect your cups, as hooch jars show up.
She'll also get the guys at that point to kind of whittle her things in their, not really free time, but like in the evenings when there's no work to be done or everything's, gone to bed. She'll just be like, I just need cups. I just need cups. Don't ask.
Yeah.
And just...
But whiskey bottles, everything. Like even things that you've not seen have just shown up here.
Cool.
And
okay.
more and more blood is being stored in these. And the strangest thing about that is through the entire month that you're doing this, the slave masters don't even notice that building. They ignore it completely. They do checks.
Cool.
They check beds. They rip apart people's houses on the regular, looking for contraband and things like that. But they never go near that. And that's not normal. Like, they just walk right past it without ever even knowing that it's there, as if the building itself was concealed in those shadows. And you can actually see that the building is clinging to the darkness more than usual. Most of the time, the other slaves completely forget that that place exists.
Okay.
Until one night, just before the sun rises, there's a commotion. McCarthy has gone off. Some business trip to Seattle. You've heard that they're talking about expanding the ranch, getting more slaves. But just before sunrise, the commotion in the slave court is that the Guardian Angel has appeared. And he's there, walking among everyone. You hear your mom, as she breaks into tears, screaming that it's her father. And the most desperate of your slave groups freely accept the drinks that he's offering. Some of them are very afraid. And as the slavers are coming out, as the sun is starting to rise, and they are livid, completely out of their mind, deranged. You swear to God that as one of them tries to get on his horse so that he can ride over and run down, which has happened before, the slave, or the horse itself, is throwing a fit. It does not want to get on him. It's terrified of him for some reason. And you could swear to God he picked it up and threw it. There's nothing but a stain on the side of the house where the horse hit.
Well,
You hear guns cocking. And as the sun is starting to rise, the most infernal thing that you could imagine happening happens. As the guardian angel of these slaves, who has roused everybody in this need for liberation, that this house is going to burn down, that those slavers are going to die, and all of you are going to run off into the woods somewhere, is swallowed by the earth. He just sinks into the ground. There's some panic. There's hurrying as some of the other slaves run over to the sick house and grab more of the jars and drink, and spilling more than they're actually getting down. Some jars and bottles are just completely shattering and soaking into the floor.
I will be joining them, running to the quarters so that I can grab extra, because he didn't say don't drink a lot more.
Yeah.
He said, very convoluted things to me, so more means stronger.
True. And over this month, you have found yourself stronger.
So more then.
You've also found yourself not noticed by the slavers. Like, when you don't want to be noticed, you could swear that the shadows just swallow you whole and that you're the one controlling it. You also find yourself being drawn to things that your family's wearing. The homemade necklace here.
Drawn to
a dress that one of the slaves keeps because their daughter died, and that was her favorite dress. You just feel yourself drawn to specific items. They smell enticing. They look like they have significance. And you could swear that you've seen the people who originally owned them walking around the court, even though they've been dead for years. But this revolution has started. And a couple slaves are going to die. Those incredibly hard to kill juggernaut of men are going to be ripped apart. Some of them quite literally, these slavers. Some of these slaves themselves are performing acts of strength that they should not be able to. You could swear that you saw a 10-year-old boy rip a man's arm off. And it's insane. It's completely horrific and monstrous. but they've lost all chance of anything else. A few of them seem to have lost
started now, you have to.
everything. Within the first few hours, the house goes up in flames.
That's where I was going to go. In the house to clear out whoever I could clear out, and then I will happily help them torch the whole damn place.
Some slaves get trampled to death from the other slaves as they're trying to get away. And there's this ringing in your head the entire time saying that there is something missing. That there's an item. One of those things that you feel you can sense is supposed to be here, but it's not here. You can actually see the place where it's supposed to be. And you don't know if it's a toy or a doll or something, but it's something.
Something's missing that should be...
Something's missing that should be here, and you are sensing it.
In the house?
Yeah. And even while it's on fire, there's other slaves who are grabbing candlesticks and breaking holes into the walls and digging around, pulling up floorboards, ripping open pillows. It's not here, and nobody knows what the hell they're looking for.
Okay.
By 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there's slaves shifting through the ashes, burning themselves on the hot timbers. Then the slave houses go up, and they start ripping apart everything. You don't know if they've lost themselves to some strange frenzy. They seem coherent, but they don't know what they're looking for. You don't know what you're looking for. The sun starts going down, and your angel comes back. Except this time, it is that corpse. His fangs are bared, and he's laughing maniacally at the carnage that has happened.
That's disconcerting.
The other ones are all crowding around him. They don't seem afraid of him. The word Loa gets thrown around from a few people that are not from your group, but people who have been brought around.
Okay.
Names being thrown around. You hear the name Zemedi being thrown around. You hear the name Baron being thrown around, and he is wide-eyed, laughing with glowing red eyes. You swear he has claws at one point. You see him slice his hand open and fling it towards the stack of bodies getting ready to be buried of your family. And they get up. And in a very loud home language, he yells, "To the town." And they march.
Oh crap. I guess we killing everybody. That's what she's gonna assume.
Mm-hmm.
So, following along, maybe even trying to stay 30 feet ahead.
Yeah. In Portland, in the year 1876, in October, a march happened of the slaves. And there are so many people who could swear to God that they shot people square in the head, and they just kept coming. Houses got broken into, walls got torn up into. You could swear to God that someone was screaming as they were pulled out of a building by their hair, and as they were set on fire, they kept running and screaming, and you saw the fangs. Several kindred died. When guns were fired at the Guardian Angel, he exploded into dust and then reappeared behind them and sank his fangs in. And the march continued pretty much every building had holes punched into the walls, people looking for things. Before dawn, the bodies that marched willingly on their own collapse. They don't get back up. Several more slaves die. Several people from the town die. Victor Loretta loses his mind through the entire thing. He refuses to stop fighting. He not only is using his side iron, he's got a rifle out. He pulls out a sword, strangely enough, at one point in time. And you swear to God, at one point in time, he pulls out the cross from under his shirt and says, "Back, beasts," and they listen. You don't want to go near this guy because he's radiating holy light. Not many people in town die, but a few. And before dawn the next day, they've all retreated north. All of yours have retreated north. You don't know how, but you've all crossed the Willamette River. You're on the other side. You're free of the actual town itself.
That's insane.
You run across others. At first, werewolf might be the thing that pops into your mind as you see all of these wolves surrounding your group with glowing red eyes. But then they're people. They seem to be led by a small child. Your guardian angel, Whistler, hugs the child and thanks him for all the help they've given. And you hear the promise that this child, which is named Jake, will get all of them to safety, will get all of them to freedom, that he will take them into Canada and they will be able to live lives for themselves. But it's going to be a very long journey. You have taken considerable damage during this whole thing.
That seems accurate for the character. Front row seat.
If it wasn't for the blood, you wouldn't be here. You're running out. Whistler will come up to you and blood tears in his eyes, he will say thank you. I couldn't have done this without you.
Same.
I know this is new, and this is frightening. You have a choice. You can be done and you can rest. Or you can keep fighting with me, because I'm not going to stop until McCarthy's dead.
Oh, I'm with you.
He's going to sit with you by the river, just enjoying nature, until you can't keep your eyes open. You're not physically tired, you're just drained. You're bleeding out, and he's letting you just get colder. You don't feel pain, you're starting to go numb.
Well, she will just rattle every question she can imagine up until she doesn't really have the will to speak anymore.
He will openly answer everything to you. He will tell you everything. He'll tell you about his sire. He will tell you about how they got here, at least what he says, because apparently they're the last of a line that don't exist anymore because of a complete and utter extinction of their family. That they're changing things. That more of his kind are said to have shown up in Europe. More of his kind are said to have showed up in the islands where the slaves are being kept before they're shipped off to where they're going. That more and more slaves are becoming like us to fight for freedom.
She'll seem very comforted by all of that. ramble and ramble until she can't.
Mm-hmm. When you can't anymore, he's going to pet you affectionately, pet your hair, rub your back, and let you die. It's like he's watching it, like he's interested in it, like morbidly asking you questions, and you feel that you're thinking the answers, but you feel like he's getting them, like he's draining them out of your head. Like for a while there, you realize that he's not even talking to you, but you're still hearing questions. That he's asking you about your entire death process. And that he's naming off body parts and organs that you don't even know are in there. You know there's stuff in there.
Right.
But you don't
Saw
know.
some of it.
Yeah. But he's telling you exactly what is affected, how this is killing you, why this is killing you. And he seems to be enjoying it in a way. And just as you're like, okay, well this is it. This is how, I'm done now, even though he said that he was going to let me keep going. The last physical words you hear before you slip into darkness is, first things first, we're going to have to teach you to read. And then nothing. And then it's dark. And there's pressure all around you. And there's a panic that you can't breathe. And I need you to roll a strength plus brawl test for me. And that is going to be, you've got 5 dice.
I do.
To roll for this. This is long, and I'm sorry, but I'm enjoying it.
What else am I supposed to do on my night off?
One.
I got that.
One
Better
success.
than 0.
You realize, as you're scrambling, that you're in moist soil. You've been buried. You've been buried, and you're digging yourself out of your grave.
Yeah, she will freak the frick out. I am not dead yet! Small war cry now. Not
You
dead
can
yet.
scream, and dirt just fills your mouth. You're not in a box. You're not in a bag. You're just in the dirt, along the side of the river.
Honestly, may not have even been the first time she's ever been buried, considering some of the things I've read about Portland's interesting history.
True.
Take a moment to just kind of calm as much as possible
Mm-hmm.
and listen for anything that would give me an idea of a vibration is up. Which way is up?
You involuntarily activate heightened senses.
I knew what you meant, but the words didn't match, but we knew.
Yeah.
We knew. Heightened senses, yes.
You involuntarily activate heightened senses, and you can feel the pressure of someone pacing back and forth above you. You know which way is up.
Okay. Working on that diligently. With feet more than hands.
Yeah, you're gonna get out. I don't see a point in rolling more. It's just gonna determine how long it takes you. But you get out.
We can roll that. How long is it gonna take you to get out? Strength plus
brawl.
Again, okay, so that was what, 4? You said
5.
5. Watch me.
Tell you what.
Watch me mess this up, huh?
Why don't you involuntarily perform your very first rouse check? Add these 2. Get rid of 2 of your black dice and add those dice. And you're going.
Bad could happen.
You are going to. Actually, I'm wrong. You're going to get to add those back because you're rousing your blood for extra strength.
Okay. That's a whole thing.
It is.
It's a whole thing.
Oh, sorry. Blood surge 3. You get more dice because your blood surge.
Probably just move these out of the way.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Where's
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. No, 3. That does count as a fail, but since you have other successes, that doesn't. It's not a failure.
Cool.
So it's probably going to take you a good 10 minutes or so to dig out. But you dig yourself out.
That's not shabby when you're a tiny female
That's not.
and you're, you know,
It's not, but you can
buried
feel
underground.
you can feel the ridiculous amount of strength that's caught on. Also, as you're digging, you feel different as the soil touches parts of you. As rocks scrape against your skin and things like that as you're digging out. And as the light hits your eyes from the ridiculous full moon above you, you can see that you've cracked some of the fingernails as you're trying to come out. That parts of your flesh have torn away because of the rocks. That chunks of your hair have stayed behind because you're starting to suffer the curse that the Zemeti have in this time. Now, as game starts and we're playing in Modern Nights, you won't have to deal with that any longer.
Okay.
You're going to have the Lamia's Kiss as your clan flaw. But right now, you are going to have to spend the next century or so as a standard Zemeti, with the fact that over the next 2 weeks, anytime you take any type of damage, you're just going to rot. You are just going to have parts break off. You are going to suffer from being dead. And you realize that it's not just him, it's anyone that he is. You're a rot.
You're a rot.
But he's waiting with a shovel as you come out. He dug a grave for you. He had you dig yourself out.
Spit out a mouthful of dirt upon
Several
exiting.
other parts of you come out when you do that. And he just looks, and he's leaning on the shovel and smiling, you think, because he's not hiding from you anymore. And he goes, laughingly, I apologize, but it is tradition. We all dig ourselves out.
How long was I down there?
One night.
I had 10 fingers when I went down.
You still have 10.
Roughly.
You'll be fine. All of us suffer from that.
I don't have to sleep in a grave.
You don't have to sleep in a grave. You can sleep in a bed if we can find you a haven.
Never had bed before.
You may not feel like life has gotten better, but now it actually can become better.
But we're still killing McCarthy.
Oh, that's one of the things that's going to make it very worth it.
Agreed.
And he will reach down and take your hand, if you'll take his, and he'll help you the rest of the way out of the hole.
Only if she can't do it herself, otherwise she'll...
Mm-hmm. You can. You're stubborn. You got enough
Sure.
strength. You're surged at this point in time. It's kind of like a cocaine feeling. You're just like blood has passed through. You've accessed a new drug that you have in your body, but you have to replenish it. You need to eat.
I do.
Let's go back to town.
Alright. I don't think they're gonna serve me nothing in town.
There. What we're going to eat.
Huh.
And he is going to escort you back to town.